All right. Hello, everyone. This is the Mgtow Cowboy. Greetings and salutations. Today is a wonderful day. Today is April the 28th, Thursday, April the 28th. I am off today, and I have made contact with Black Pill on Steroids, and we are going to have a 20 to 40-minute interview, hopefully. I've made contact with him, and he says he's game. He was kind enough to get up from his slumber, and so we're going to be waiting for him to pop in. And I'm going to ask him a myriad of red pill themed questions or Mgtow themed questions, and maybe we'll bring on some other people as well, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to step away for a second and pour myself a tall glass of water mixed with I don't know, some sparkling water, and this way I can wet my palate during the interview. Give you guys a couple minutes to come in, and we hopefully again we'll have I don't even know what to call him. I mean, I think his name is Eugene, but he used to go by Red Pill on Steroids. Now he goes by Black Pill on Steroids. Of course, we're going to ask him all the standard questions. What brought you to Mgtow? He was at once, a Mgtow. What brought you to Mgtow? What have you had any bad experiences with women? Where are you now? And then maybe transition into getting him to talk to us a little bit about the laws in the United Kingdom. So particularly what's it called? I think they're called coercive control laws. Hopefully we can talk a little bit about that, and then just catch up with him, see what he's doing. All right, so I'll be back in like 2 or 3 minutes. Let me pour myself some sparkling water, and I'll sit down at the couch with you guys, and we'll all hang out for an hour. All right, hold on. Oh. Do 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 do. Mommy, mommy, all right. Oh, I got myself a nice cold drink here. Oh, let's turn the light off, put the low light on, and we will officially enter the Sweat Hotel. All right. Got my drink. Oh, time to plop my butt on the couch. Okay. Let's see who we have in the comment section. Okay, so I posted the link. Hopefully he'll show up soon. We got Sage here saying hello. What's up, Sage? I remember you, bro. Dead Lust, yo Mgtow, unite brothers. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, that's the goal. Kwai Chain Kane, yo the cowboy. What's up, Kwai? How's it going, man? How's Des Plaines? Or I think I forgot which suburb you hail from. It's a northern suburb, north of me. Shinobi Juan, Shinobi, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you popping in. So sad about that. One of your sheep passed away. I did not understand why you did not butcher it and eat it. I saw you bury it with like a backhoe. I don't know. I guess maybe something was going on. I'm guessing it's like a medical thing. Let's see. Chrome Dome Omega. Roid Pills, yeah. Shinobi Juan. Megan Fox. Dead Lust. He's a boss. Okay, we got a guest here. Aha. Look who we have. Wow. Very, very quick, too. This is Black Pill on steroids. I see him in the in the guest waiting room backstage. I'm gonna let him on right now. So, all right, here comes Black Pill on steroids in 3, 2, 1. Add to stream. Black Pill on steroids. Are you there, sir?
I certainly am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're coming. I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic, brother. I'm glad we're doing this interview. It's good to catch up with the manosphere, especially, and to see how we're all doing. So how's things been with you, Mgtow Cowboy?
Things are okay. I'm still happy and healthy. Living in the outskirts of Chicago. Yeah, my next goal is to get back into big rig trucking, and I hope to do that this summer. Actually, in just a couple months. I wanted to wait for the weather to sort of get nice. If you know anything about trucking, the worst time of year to get in is when it's like when there's like ice in the ground and it's snowy, and the sun goes down at 4 p.m. and it's nice to start in my opinion and most truckers' opinion in the summertime.
It is fantastic, isn't it, really? And remember, though, it's like thought season, isn't it, really? When they're going to get the bikini bodies out, they'll get them camel toe fucking jogging pants on and they'll be bending down saying, yoo-hoo, Mgtow Cowboy.
Oh.
Between...
Yes.
You'll be
here in
getting
the States,
you'll be getting a blow.
We call them lot lizards.
She'll give you a blowjob, or she'll give you a blowjob for like half a tank of petrol. Things are getting desperate for women out there, aren't they?
Yes, there's a whole culture surrounding the trucking industry where these, I don't know, less than savory characters, usually women, of course, although not exclusively, mostly women, they specifically target the truck stops. And we call them lot lizards. You may have heard of us. You may have heard of them, that is.
The funny thing is, though, it's like what RPM said that, when times get hard, women will be making background, or should I say backstreet arrangements with guys to get some extra cash because, us MGTOW men, we've been warning about this collapse. We've been warning about women, how you need to be traditional, you need to be, feminine, you need to make some changes for laws. And again, with the same old things, we've been repeating this message for many years. And still, what I've seen in society, Mgtow Cowboy, is that women have such a lack of awareness. They're just complete automatons. They run an automated behavior where they fuck in the sleep, they marry in the sleep, they get pregnant in the sleep, and they question no narrative. And it's a shame things have had to detransition to this, but as Mgtow men, we're going to come on top of this very strong.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot with what you just said. That's a great intro. Yeah, I mean, it's sad to say, but yes, I think that women they absolutely lack insight. But you just said it. You just said why they don't have to. They don't have to develop insight. They when times get tough, they can rely on that thing between their legs, and they know that.
Well, Mgtow Cowboy, you're a truck driver, and you're stacking your green like all the gentlemen in the chat tonight. You are confirmed bachelors who are living the philosophy. Now, this is what's interesting, Mgtow Cowboy, because we're going through such a transition where the state are going bankrupt. Women who kicked out the father from the houses, she can't afford to feed the children. Welfare is going to dry up. Child poverty. And the single parent mother, in desperation because of hypergamy, feral hypergamy, should I say, she'll go back to the father. She'll try to rearrange a relationship if he's working, if it's a cleaner or working in a bar. Any blue-collar job for a woman will be like hitting the lottery. But this is a point that we've been saying, Mgtow Cowboy, that this is going to be a Hunger Games society. Now, as Mgtow Black Pill men, we've been warning, we've been helping men build, we've been helping men grow. And even though we're not fazed by any of this, where feminism's gone quiet, women are going back into the kitchen, as you've seen with the Ukrainian war, traditionalism, but men, we have a long memory now. We have a long memory. So all this funny thing with optimizing a woman's hypergamy with the law, well, the law's bankrupt, the government's bankrupt, women will have no men to turn to. The beta male, the CEO, people like Kevin Samuels, who claim to be rich, will all be on universal basic income sooner or later. And all the women who mock the Mgtow men, what will we do? We'll get the canister and we'll burn that plantation field off. And for those Mgtow men who want to negotiate with women, you know, they'll have the pick of the litter. But those Mgtow men who are monk and want to stay firm in their convictions will just watch society plummet. Because again, we've been through so much social conditioning, haven't we?
Yeah, again, what I would say is I agree with you that especially Mgtow-minded men or red pill men, or I guess in your case, black pill, I want to get into that. I don't know if you consider yourself at all connected with the red pill community anymore, but yeah, people who think like us, I think, yes, we're going to be very well positioned because, you know, we keep our costs low. I talk about it all the time. I rent the cheapest apartment I can get. My car I have a tiny little car. It's paid off. And yes, so we're going to be able to, let's say, weather the storm better than most. I don't know if you're keeping up with international politics.
All of it.
It sounds like it sounds like you are. It's good to keep abreast of what's going on. I'm hearing some geopolitical analysts saying that we could be looking at a shortage of food in the coming this year.
Yes, they're saying in California by summertime. The UK may be a little different, but you know, this is the thing, Mgtow Cowboy. I warned people on Facebook before I came out as a Mgtow. I warned about the hyperinflation 3 years back when people all got sort of like scared about, oh no, a sneeze and everybody locked themselves down, self-induced poverty, you know, because we've got a collective society on bitch think that can't think for themselves. I said, listen, if you don't get back to work and question the narrative of the government, you'll have hyperinflation, you'll have rising food prices. And from that day, I told them, I've stocked up on 5 years worth of food. I've got an allotment now to grow more food. And I've just been basically, for myself, preparing Mgtow men, red pill men to prepare, get organized, get yourself mentally and spiritually right. And just to be in the best shape of your life, you know, and to practice gratitude, to look after other men. You know, I had an interview with my Master 101 who went through a trauma where his brother died, went through a very bad marriage where his wife became a lesbian, his brother's wife,
sure,
and she took the children. So I think in these times, Mgtow Cowboy, we have to be really assertive and just really, as I've seen your videos, Mgtow Cowboy, you're very, you're well-rounded as a listener. You know, you interview people thoroughly. And you generally have that caring spirit of wanting to get to know other men and really sharpen the shield wall of Mgtow and red pill and black pill, because you hear we've got these communities that we never had as children. You know, us men, we've come together from all nationalities and countries. We've transcended Christianity and our religious barriers to come to a common philosophy where men share their collective pain. Now, like King David from the Bible, those who are Christian would say that their tears of skin are basically stored in his bottle skin, the tears and pain of suffering for men. And what we really produce, Mgtow Cowboy, is to give men a shoulder to cry on, to be supportive, to have social gatherings, whether it's having round tables, whether it's meetups. It's giving the brotherhood that we never had because of the feminist imperative.
Yeah. I make no bones about it. I openly say how my channel is dedicated to creating a counter narrative to what I consider a omnipresent. It's almost like we're bathing in a toxic bath of just this constant, you know, gynocentrism, this constant feminism, this constant call it whatever you want, a social landscape where everywhere men go, you know, they're told that they are inferior. We're told that we're brutes. You know, we should feel bad. You know, they want to strip us or rob us of our dignity. When the real fact is, the vast majority of men are decent folk who you know, are workaday people. But yeah, we're just having to survive this. And my goal, you know, I say it all the time, is to actually change the culture so much that men become hardened to all this negative, what I see as negative propaganda against us, to the point where
that's where, though, Mgtow Cowboy, people need to go to Black Pill. Now, I don't know if you heard, there's a content creator who used to be in the manosphere called Hard Hitting Truth, and he's gone to I think it's Whoremonger or something. He's an incel.
Yeah, Whoremaster too. Yeah, he was just on my last stream. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is what I want to clarify to people in the manosphere, that people think that, you know, the Black Pill's about looks and sexuality. Now, what I want to get into about the Black Pill, and this is where I'm going to distinguish it, is the Black Pill is about working through nihilism. It's about complete detachment from your name, your identity, your religion, your belief systems. It's looking at things in a kind of Ayn Rand kind of way, but past that, in being objective, really. Black Pill is to work through the trauma-based nihilism. When you're Red Pill and you realize that you're a plantation worker, you're a naked slave of a thongon with like horseshoes on his feet, pulling a plow for a woman, saying bitch number one, because, you know, he's married to a plantation worker, the woman who's a dividend stock manager, who's using the husband and the boyfriend to be a plantation worker. I think with Red Pill, you do really realize that you are a slave in the system. But to go Black Pill is to abandon all the identity, because, you know, as birth, we're born into a prison matrix. You know, we have this thing, this invisible prison bar called fear that we can't see, which is limiting belief systems. And as you mentioned before previously, that we do have this gaslighting from feminists that say that men aren't shit, because this is what's beautiful about Mgtow Cowboy. It's good to speak to all of you brothers tonight, because what's beautiful about all of you unique men is that we're promoting individualism, and YouTube hate it. They fucking hate it, because what I like to see with all the Mgtow and Black Pill men, those who are in the philosophy, is to see men develop individualistic characteristic traits. That's what I love about Mgtow. It's individualistic. Their own personality qualms. They're not ashamed to express their mannerisms or opinions, but to find their own unique talents. And the war we've got, Mgtow Cowboy, as you say, rightly so, is feminism is fueled by collectivism, you know, Bolshevikism, Marxism, socialism, whatever kind of negative connotation you put to isms. But the main thing is that we're individual soldiers. We've all got unique personalities. Now, what we've done as Mgtow men, and I think some Red Pill men may disagree, but we've kind of transcended past religion, because we've come into an era where we are individual nomad souls. A nomad soul being a wanderer trying to find his own identity outside the belief systems of our pre-programmed identities from our parents and from the education system. It's really basically unlearning everything that we've learned, but going further than that by abandoning identity and rebuilding. Because this is the thing when we go to the Red Pill rage. When we go to being Red Pill, we go through a lot of trauma and pain. And many people will say, I don't want to go Black Pill because it's too nihilistic. But the thing is, we have to go through nihilism and limitation in order to find new ways to grow. You know, suffering and pain come from limiting belief systems. They come from doing things wrong constantly over and over again, you know, until we get these things right. You know, and nihilism is mainly about being assertive. You know, we've got active nihilism, where it's a renewal of spirit, knowing that everything's false and fake, but with our own unique personalities and concepts, we can really rebuild and become somebody unique outside the system. And that's what every single Mgtow man is trying to do, which I gladly applaud.
You saying what you said, you kind of remind me of something TFM said. I'm sure you're familiar with Turd Flinging Monkey. He talked about how many men, including men, let's say, who were in the service or in the military, they can sort of not go crazy, but they lose. Let's say something happens. Let's say there's an accident. Let's say they become disabled or something. They have a high chance of committing suicide, because who they were, or who they thought they were, these people are so connected to this vision, or they conjure up this image of themselves in their mind of what they are. And when they lose that, they feel like they lose their identity. And a lot of them turn to drugs or alcoholism. They become one of these, like, you know, stereotypical, like, homeless veterans. When really what he claims, and I guess you're claiming the same thing, is that you have to realize that you're not necessarily your job title, but you're something else. You're something beyond that.
It's like you say before, you're unlearning everything, but it's like think of it this way. Think of it as like it's a complete abandonment of who you are, who you think you are, because we don't know who we are. We come into this life unconsciously. Sorry, Mgtow.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's heard this, but it has something to do with shackles. Stop it. Let me know if it sounds familiar. All you're doing in life is trading one pair of shackles for another one. You know, that's all it is. All life is you're trading one pair of handcuffs or one pair of bondage, one pair of monocles or shackles, one pair of cuffs for another pair of cuffs. You know, some of it's voluntarily or seemingly voluntarily. Some of it's basically obligated. Like when you're born, you're trading your handcuffs to your mom via umbilical cord for for something else, for infanthood. You're just trading.
Mgtow
and the Wind.
But don't you think that as an accomplishment that you've basically broken that programming, like Mgtow Cowboy? What about you two gents? Don't you feel like you've accomplished something? Well, you said before, Mgtow and the Wind, that you've been born with shackles, but you've both broken them.
Yeah. Well, I think that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mgtow in the Wind.
I mean, I could literally look if this I don't know. I use this word lightly. If this civilization were to crumble, how many people would be able to walk away from everything? Consequences be darned, you know. Like look, go into the woods, knowing it's certain death, and doing their best to survive. How many people are prepared for that?
Well, the fact is that we're a very small percentage, Mgtow and the Wind, because the fact is we're probably something like 5-6% of the red pill, black pill men on the planet that have actually managed to get off that conveyor belt of marriage, family, and children and education, or we've gone through the process but jumped off the belt, realizing that we're not going to be a woman's cash cow, we're not going to be a life insurance, and because the state are panicking now, Susan Wojcicki, the Gestapo, have basically had to block Mgtow content because too many men are waking up now. Because think of it this way, we're going through a pandemic, Mgtow men are grouping together, we're helping each other grow, we're prepping, we're organizing, we're helping each other mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So you think about this way, who's the biggest income earners? The men are, but men can adapt and survive. Now, we can adapt and survive anything because the power of the mind is more powerful than the body. You know, the body may age and wither away and die. The body will age gradually. We might not be able to do what we can do as we're younger, but the mind has many fascinating ideas to invent new things. And that's what makes us very superior as Mgtow men compared to all the world, including the governments.
Let's say, especially if you have experience in certain fields, you know, like it doesn't matter. Like if you have experience in survival in bushcraft, it doesn't matter how old you are.
I'm sorry.
It's going to triumph anybody who's just blindly stumbling around. Like I try to get as much experience as I possibly can. Like for me, my specialties in bushcraft would be fire starting, you know. But
I was just going to bring up how Mgtow in the Wind, you were, or I guess maybe you currently are, still in the military. I remember I've spoken with you multiple times, and I would say, you know, so because of this mandate that they want you to take the, I'm not going to call it by name, but we'll call it the jab or the poke.
Hot shot. Call it a hot shot.
The hot shot, yeah, right. So they want to administer to you the hot shot. You're resisting, and now they're essentially threatening you. They're threatening. They're saying they're going to throw you out. I think some other people, let's say other men who have not done as much introspection, that would crush them. But you seem to be taking it very well. I remember you said very earnestly. You said very earnestly. You said very earnestly. Yeah, let them throw me out. Let them throw me out. I can survive anyway. And you know, notions like that.
Right. And it's like I'm sitting in the office with the acting first sergeant, calm, collected, and he's basically saying all these things. I've signed so many paperwork telling me to get the jab. The hot shot. Telling me to get the hot shot, and I'm like, no, not happening. I'm blatantly saying no. Now,
Sure.
if it could go either two ways, they kick me out, and they want to go to ask me to come back in, I tell them go piss off, or they realize that, hey, this person has this much in many years of experience. He seems like he's already made preparations to get out, so we're gonna hold him.
Well, like I said, it seems like really they're attempting to pressure you. Remember what I told you? I told you, I don't know if they would ever allow this, but I told you to what's it called, to transfer to the what I can't remember what state that you're serving out of,
Oklahoma.
but I told you to transfer to the state of Oklahoma, because I thought I remember hearing the Brigadier General of Oklahoma gave a waiver for all National Guardsmen in that particular state. But whatever.
I'm not afraid of seeing what Pennsylvania's going to do. I'm not afraid of that. They're going to do. Quite frankly, I don't care.
The National Guard of Pennsylvania. They probably wouldn't even let you transfer. But the point is, if there's some sort of administrative way to get out of that, that would be great. But they're just not giving that to you. So they're just.
Oh, I know of an administrative way to get out of that. All I would have to do was contact the Oklahoma National Guard and have them make a request. That's all I would have to do.
I mean, if that's a viable, I would actually recommend that you do that, because then you would legally not have to get the shot, because all National Guardsmen. So you see, Oklahoma is so conservative that the Brigadier General that runs the entire show over there, he realized that he would lose such a huge demographic of men that he just said, forget it, just let him win, at least for now. And if that serves you, I'm just talking about your future, because if you're allowed to stay in the service and you finish your service, you get free health care for the rest of your life, right?
I can get better health care from my current job.
Okay. I'm just okay. No, you're right. I'm not going to argue that. Okay. Anyway, black pill on steroids. If we can pivot back towards you for a second. I think you sort of stepped away from YouTube largely. I think there have been some new people that have come in. Can you give us like a 5-minute wrap up, sort of like you're coming to Mgtow, and then you're coming to red pill, and then you transfer over to what you consider black pill? Can you sort of give us your story? What brought you to individualistic thinking? Maybe some of the experiences you've had. I thought I remember you said you eventually were planning to move out of the big city, and I think you did you end up moving up north in England to like a more smaller town or something like that? Can you talk about yourself a little bit?
I'm in a smaller town now, Stockport. I've been in Stockport all my life, but I've moved somewhere. It's still in the same house, but I've basically moved from apartments to apartments, and I've got my house from my family, but it's my own house basically giving it me. But for Mgtow, for me, basically how I became red pilled when I left religion. What
part of England are you from?
I'm from North England, Stockport.
I'm sorry?
Cheshire. Just North England, just outside Stockport, just outside Manchester.
Okay.
So I'm from North England. I'll just say that short.
Right. Okay. For some reason, I thought.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you lived. For some reason, I thought you lived in Manchester, and then you moved outside the city into like a smaller town.
I'm classed as Manchester. I should be, but when Margaret Thatcher in England, she kind of merged Bolton and other small counties into Manchester, make it Greater Manchester. So technically, we should be Cheshire, but because of the Conservative Party, they put Stockport in with Greater Manchester when it shouldn't be. It should be Cheshire, but that's politics for you anyway. So yeah, basically, what kind of red pilled me to religion? Well, briefly, I've grown up in a family of domestic violence. Dad beat my mum up, battered her. I won't go into detail with that, but basically, I've seen how hypergamy works in relationships in my family. One of my family members who had an extramarital affair with children got stabbed, barely survived, but made it. And that was my own sister who got stabbed, by the way, because she was cheating, with somebody, with a guy. She had 3 children. She's got 6 children now, 3 different fathers, and she's with another man now.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah. So yeah. So seeing that from childhood, I mean, I see my mum get battered really from a young age, being mostly desensitized towards a lot of violence that happens. So basically, yeah, I've seen a lot of like cheating, domestic violence in my family growing up from being a kid. I've seen him when I used to be a Jehovah's Witness Christian, and there was a lot. The reason why I left Jehovah's Witness religion, I used to be a public speaker. I could have been a minister and give out talks and move up in the religious cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. But what happened was I did some research. I had a red pill moment where I found out in the Jehovah's Witnesses there was pedophilia. Now there was ministers who were abusing young children and teenage women, and they were keeping out of line. Now, as a witness, I was told never to think critically, never question the organization, because if you question the church, you question God. So I did years and years of societal segregation where I wasn't allowed to mix with people in the world because there was unholy. If they're not Jehovah's Witness, they're pagan. There was no birthdays, there was no Christmas, there was no Easter holidays, there was no Christmas holidays. The only thing you could celebrate was anniversaries and have weddings. That was it. But you lived a very regimented, segregated life. And for me, from being a young age, I've seen a lot of death and destruction from when I was growing up with my family through domestic violence and all that kind of stuff. We used to read the book of Revelation, and he used to show us pictures as young children of people being destroyed and killed at Armageddon who don't repent to God. All the fear and trauma of Christianity, scriptures and verses being twisted. So when I got older, fast forwarding on, I've got actually, I might even release the audio for YouTube soon. But I basically had an elders meeting because I had a crisis of conscience. I questioned all the Bible's doctrines because they weren't lining up with the publications. I found out scriptures in the Bible that weren't matching up with their own doctrines. I found out about the pedophilia. I found out that there was a corporation hiding under the religion. There was a giant corporation using Christian members as free labor to make money in real estate by donations, tax exemptions. That's how billionaire bankers do that. They set religions up to basically have free tax exemptions. So I left the religion 6 years ago back, lost all my friends, lost my connections with certain members of the family because I chose to leave the faith and do my own research. So when I left being a Christian and Jehovah's Witness, being ostracized, my mum still speaks to me, but my whole family members cut me off, but I don't care about that. My friends cut me off.
Yes.
I had a social circle, an ostracization, because what happens is when you question the faith, they'll either disfellowship, which causes dismemberment, where you can't speak to anybody, you're cut off completely. But because I did so much research into the organization, I presented loads of facts and scriptures to the elders, my ministers who were questioning me about my faith. I showed them evidence after evidence, and they were going to DF me. And I said, if you try and disfellowship me under natural law, I'll take you to court and sue you, because under the clergy of the rights of religious freedom, everybody's a living sovereign human being, and you're a corporation. So when I left the religion very quickly, I went out dating. I did have some flings when I was a witness, but I had some flings. I dated like multiple women, but I just saw, like many of you guys, that women are just these empty vessels. Women have no consciousness, they have no ambition, they have no interest in life. They're just automatons. It's like you're dating an NPC, and I think intuition tells you that a lot of women are basically spiritually, morally bankrupt. So I kind of realized that when
I'm sorry to interrupt you. How old were you? How old are you now? And how old were you when you left the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Well, I was 30 when I left. I'm 37 now. So
okay.
I found the red pill. I think it was just after my breakup with my Polish girlfriend. And I found out she lied to me about being married, and she was playing all the pregnancy tests. Oh, I think I'm pregnant, saying she was on the contraception pill when she wasn't. And halfway through the relationship.
Oh yeah. Well, you gotta love those pregnancy scares, because they're not, supposedly they're on the pill, but they're not. And okay. There's another well-known Mgtow guy. Have you ever heard of Mr. Thomas Lundy?
I haven't heard of him.
Okay. He has a smaller boutique channel, kind of a similar story. He was heavily involved in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and he just recounts his story. He eventually started to question the doctrine. He claimed he started seeing inconsistencies, and then he says the exact same thing that you say. Once he left, there's like this policy where you become like a social pariah, and like people who were once you considered like your best friend or something, they'll totally ignore you or something. They'll totally you become like an outcast, right?
Yeah, because I think for me, leaving Christianity I was a red pill on steroids for a little bit, but I knew I had to go further than that, because I think with all of us guys, we've got this is the thing about nihilism. Even in red pill, you do feel nihilistic to a point, because we've got unresolved trauma from when we were growing up, the societal programming. We've got to keep working through it, and it's like you say, going back to black pill, it's being willing to abandon, optimism, to go through the negativity, to actually come out the other side and help other men transition to being better. Black pill's mainly about, basically, you go through religion, you go through bad breakups, but you question everything, your political ideology. You basically lay everything on the table, nakedly exposed, and no matter how much it hurts you, one thing that red pill lacks, and I'm not being awful to red pill men, have to get past nationalism, because again, nationalism's corporatism. Corporatism is imprisonment, like we all do. We work for a tax code. If it's in a religion, or if it's in the army, if it's working for a job, we're all corporate slaves to a corporate entity that's not really
Sure.
real.
I hear you. On my last is it my last or my second to last live stream? What's his name? I had a guest. I had Hormax or two. You had mentioned him a couple minutes ago, and he was basically saying the same thing. He said, in this day and age, he does not understand patriotism, and he went on to say things like, he doesn't understand how people are patriotic, especially men. They'll send you off to war and they'll have you killed, while back at home they'll pass another law which takes away more of your rights.
Let me tell you something corrupt about that, guys. I'll tell you something secret. Now, basically, the banks, as you know, the Rothschilds, they fund both wars. They funded the wars from Napoleon from the 1800s. So now they funded the First and Second World War in America and Germany and Britain and France. They fund all the wars of bankers. Now, this is one thing that people need to understand, is that when you're born into the world by your parents, they give up a birth certificate to the state. They sign your birth certificate, register your name. That's a slave name. That basically is an asset to the government to trade you as legal tender on the stock market. So when you die as a soldier in the army, they take away, the banks make millions of pounds on your unclaimed estate as a birth certificate, because by law you're not allowed to be taxed, hence why you have to have the birth certificate. So if you're in the army and you pass away and die, the government will basically take all those millions and thousands that is in your name from what you produce in the economy, because you are livestock to the politicians, and they cash that in.
Yes, I've heard some of that. You're reminding me. Have you ever heard? You sound like you're the type of person. You sound like you're a very eclectic person, I imagine. Have you ever heard of a gentleman called Jordan Maxwell?
I have indeed. He was the guy who kind of red pilled me to religion, and he black pilled me then in the end, because he went.
Okay, yeah, I remember him saying some very interesting things. Oh, I'm sorry, red pill in the wind.
Now I can confirm what you said. I can confirm what black pill on steroids said, because I had a friend of mine that was Jehovah's Witness, and as a kid, and what had happened was, they got older, we began to separate. We began to become distant. I've spoken to one of them few years ago. They're married, or they're both married, but they're both brothers. And yes, they don't allow birthday parties. They don't allow holidays. They don't allow anything. And if you're not a part of their group, you are, what's the word they use?
This fellowship,
heathen, infidels. I don't know.
I'm like I said, I know there's a word that they use. I can't remember what it is.
Disfellowship.
Yeah, disfellowshipper. And even though I was born. First off, my dad was Muslim. My mom was Christian. You know, so let that sink in. Now, me, I just basically I equate prayer to just somebody's concerned or thinking about me. I don't associate prayer with a higher power. I associate it to a person's thinking about is basically has enough time to think about me, about my well-being, you know. But for the most part, I'm very careful when I deal with religion, you know, very careful.
Yeah, I'm not particularly religious anymore. I was raised a Catholic. We used to go to church every Sunday until I was probably about like 10 years old. Yeah, I mean, I went to a Catholic grammar school, Jesuit Catholic high school. I started university at a Jesuit Catholic university. I've gotten plenty of religion, and just because you bring it up, red pill in the wind. You were talking about you had a friend who was I'm sorry, black pill on steroids. What do you guys call yourselves colloquially? Jehovah's Witnesses or just witnesses? What do you guys just call yourselves?
Well, the fact is, I think for me, normally this is what I think is child abuse. They baptize children at a young age, but as Jehovah's Witnesses, what differ from certain Christian religions, you had to be 12 to be baptized. So I started out, I was like, what, 19, getting baptized? No.
Okay.
Not 20,
Yeah,
getting baptized.
just because we're on the subject.
Yeah.
Just because we're on the subject, and I do find it fascinating. Isn't it true that, in fact, I remember hearing some of this from Jordan Maxwell. He was saying things like, I think he said, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they make a lot of money in real estate development.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he said that they own, what is it, the Port of New York?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a Kingdom Hall on the side of the road?
Right. That's what they call themselves. That's what they call their churches. Yeah, Kingdom Halls. And isn't it true? Hold on 1 second.
I'll tell you something briefly about it. So quickly, in New York, right? I'll tell you how rich the Jehovah's. No, it's a corporation, basically the governing body. Now they used to own Brooklyn, New York, a prime area of real estate there, right? They sold it for over 450 million. Now, what they did, because they buy real estate, they've moved up to Warwick. But Donald Trump's son bought that Brooklyn building of Watchtower for something like 400 million. So they've been making a lot of money from tax exemptions. But basically, they're a corporation. Now, the Jehovah's Witness religion, they're quickly not shut up. It's the 40th biggest corporation in New York. I don't know if about it now, but it was the 40th biggest corporation for money generation because of all this.
Yes, I remember hearing something like that. Again, I remember Jordan Maxwell claiming that Jehovah's Witnesses or the corporation that they run, it used to own or currently owns, at least they used to own the Port of New York. I found that amazing. And he was also saying things like, isn't it true if Jehovah's Witnesses, if you get cancer or something, the religion it stipulates that you're not supposed to receive certain medical procedures
no blood transfusions whatsoever. Yeah, no blood transfusion. Now, they're quickly to hit your point there. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses religion, that's very true what you say, but here's another one for you, Mgtow Cowboy. Now, if you go to serve in a Kingdom Hall factory, they call it Bethel, where it's called the House of God, where they make all the prints and they do all the cooking, they do all the work in the Kingdom Halls, they have all the engineering there, the marketing. What people do when Jehovah's Witnesses go to work in the House of Bethel, which is the House of God, they have to take a vow of poverty. So basically, pay like a charity worker, basic living expenses, but they work for free. Now, how the governing body do it, if they're a charity and they're getting all the donations, every bit of tax gets exempted. They can basically invest in government debt by buying property and pay no taxes. So that's how the governing body exploit the witnesses. And
the Emancipation Proclamation was a fucking joke.
Yeah, it's something to you. I'll tell you something deep now. The Jehovah's Witness religion, was founded by the Freemason, 33-degree Freemason Charles A. Russell. He's one of the 13 bloodline Illuminati families of the planet, one of the very upper aristocratic families that were from the Merovingian bloodline. Very, very wealthy, very powerful. And they set these religions up as tax exemptions.
That I did not know.
But while we're, before I go, I want to say this. There's a reason I deal with religion very carefully. And it's nothing to do with the high powers or deity. It's the people. It's the people of the religion. Now the people, now the general populace of that religion is rather tame. But when a leader is slighted, the general populace turns into a horde of angry hornets. And I would much rather poke at a hornet's nest than a religious building, because of how hive-minded many of the vast majority of them are. Well, the reason I say I use vast majority very loosely. Very loosely. If not, I said, in fact, $2 interstate hooker loosely.
Right.
Because the vast majority, they will, look at Westboro. Look at the Middle East. Look at Germany, 1929. They all have something in common. They were all incited by a person of a figure that they see as God. Look at what's going on in the United States, around the world, UK, Russia, Ukraine, around the world. It's just nothing more. It's just basically leaders jockeying for position, for power in the world. You know, with a whole bunch of people swarming around like hornets. And it's all fun to watch, really. You know, I know there's a possibility that I could die. But while I'm going out, I'm going to watch and laugh. You know, I'm going to watch and laugh, because first thing, there's nothing they can do to me that I've already been through. There's nothing there's nothing they can threaten me with that I've got myself without their help. You know? And
yeah, when are you scheduled to leave the military, Red Pill in the Wind?
Well, let's see. Depends on if they back down or not. If they back down, to be about 3 years after. Let's see, I got back in 2020, 21, 21, it's 2022 right now, so it'll be 3 years. So
what you should do, though, Mgtow in the Wind, I advise you one thing, right? I'm going to put a video out on BitChute about this, right? Some heavy stuff. I've got a lot of heavy research. Probably next week it will be, but it's going to be a heavy video. But don't take the magic potion. I tell you, I've got, honestly, dude, I've got some very disturbing images, some very sick stuff. And
if you don't mind,
I think it is, I think I know what you're talking about.
You know what you want to do.
I was going to say, if we can transition back to Black Pill on Steroids, there was a couple things I wanted to talk with you about. One of them was feminism in the UK, but another thing I wanted to talk to you about, since you bring it up, is the what do you prefer to call it? The Jabberwocky, the poke, the jab. You know what I'm talking about.
I call it the magic potion, mate.
The magic potion. Can you talk a little bit about that? I've done some cursory research. I know how to read. I know how to read and write. I go to BitChute. I listen. I keep my ears open. I have not gotten it. I have no plans on getting it. What do you make of that? What do you think that thing is?
Right. I'll tell you one thing I did under lockdown. Now, we're a corporation, don't we? Right. We're under a corporate law. But I basically now, I'll cut very quickly. I've basically detached myself from the government. And how have I done that? I've got my title back from the government. Now, we're going into a depression. The Federal Reserve is going to collapse. Now that contract's ended now with everybody because the currency collapses. When the debt collapses, everybody's kind of like free because all contracts have to be renewed. Now we're taking the magic potion. You know, you become property of the government because every one of those magic potion pills has got a barcode inside them, which belongs to the magic potion companies such as Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. Now, if you take those magic potions, they're all chipped with an identification number. Now, the thing is, as you know yourself, Mgtow, in the wind, and also Mgtow Cowboy, that you go through GMO genetic modification. Now, those who don't drop from the magic potion and turn into goblins, what happened is, I've got a video on this, on a video coming out next week. When you get a payload from the second shot of taking this magic potion, you have a payload injected into you. You have these biomechanical, self-aware mini parasites, these worms called hydras, and you can't kill them because they keep replicating. Now, basically, they are mRNA factories, which basically have worms that lay eggs, like these little major biochips that make sort of circuit boards in the tiny bloodstreams to control you with the 5G towers. So basically, the hydras lay all these parasites into your body, genetically modify and kill the white blood cells. Those who are going to be dying from the magic potion, you turn into green goblins. I know I'm talking in riddles. Those who die of that will basically have their white cells wiped out because the magic potion attacks the immune system, and basically it hijacks the immune system and turns it into a RNA factory. So as you see with the reports of Pfizer, that people have died of heart attacks, strokes, myocarditis. There was a vaccination clinic.
It turns the immune system, and it has the immune system eat them from the inside out.
Yeah, but this and there's also those who survived the jabs, because the jabs are all different, they're coded differently. Now because we've not been jabbed, why do you think the government haven't broken down our houses to forcibly vaccinate us? Number one, they've not got the numbers, and two, they can't go against natural law. That's the coded Illuminati. They have to coerce people through the media and propaganda. So now we're having these digital passports being enforced onto people. The thing is, if you take that magic potion, then we have an issue where you lose all human rights, because if you've got 100 million in the bank, but you're fully magic potioned up, the third jab, the government can take all your assets from you, because then you're not a private citizen. That's what Klaus Schwab says. You'll own nothing and be happy. Are those people who've taken?
Okay, so you believe? Is it fair to say you think this magic potion, as you call it, is some sort of futuristic bioweapon that legally strips you of your right? Strips you of your rights, and then you become like property of what they see coming, a new corporation style or something like that?
Yeah, because basically you've got a product inside of you. If you're because we're under natural law. No, I've got my birth certificate rights back, natural law. So I'm not in the system. I pay the taxes to the corporation to a point. If I started a business under natural law, I would not pay taxes because I'm not under my birth certificate. My birth certificate's mine. Now, the new contracts will be those people who have been fully magic potioned up will lose all their rights, because think of it this way. The first point is you get everybody into state dependency like communism, socialism.
Right. I mean, I definitely agree that that's sort of like the model of the ultra rich. They want to get us into I could not word it better. What you just said, they want to force everyone into the state dependency. You can call it world communism if you want. You can call it they privatize.
It's worse.
The people have been buying property.
They socialize the losses.
Yep. Have you noticed that people have been buying property, buying houses?
No. I'll tell you what.
Corporations.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing which is very serious. When people need to understand, the term a mortgage means mortgage means death contract. It was from France. It's a death contract.
Yes.
A mortgage.
Yes. Mortgage. Death pledge, where you pledge to pay until you die. That's right.
Yep.
So basically, what that is now, right? I'll tell you very quickly. Right now, what it is with this now, basically, the elites know they're going to lose power. So they're going to get the wish with a certain amount of people dropping dead from the magic potion. There'll be a certain amount of people that'll be on UBI, the smart cities, and they've signed their rights away. So again, we spoke about income dependency. These magic potions are there to track you, the biochips, and basically my work's introduced biometrics. So people who've got the mark of the beast will have to have obviously they'll be scanned because they're magnetized. They'll take if people get these PCR tests, they've got little nanomachine microchips on the end of them, so they're being chipped either way. So that's why you don't take the PCR test, you don't take the swab, and you just stay away from any kind of needles, because the mark of the beast system is going to collapse. But basically, it's going to take as many people down as possible, and that's why people need to basically get clued up about it. I'll do more about the video next week. Then quickly, I want to show you something. This is the one about the common law, about living in private, about getting your rights back as a living sovereign man through the natural court, the Supreme Court. I've got loads of that, so I'll go into a video about that some other time. But anyway, I'll shut up now. Go on, you guys.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I actually find all that very fascinating. In fact, I believe in that. Again, I brought up what's his name, Jordan Maxwell. There's certain individuals that I've listened to, and I've become convinced that natural law actually is the way. But the problem is that would set humanity free, and the people that run the show, they don't particularly like that, so they want to try to divorce us.
Let me say something
us
here.
exercising our natural law rights, and you talk about how they do that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mgtow in the wind.
There's an issue with that. I mean, it's not a big issue. It's the issue that can be remedied. It can be remedied. Human beings have been so far removed from natural law for so long that, well, it's hard. We're gonna have a hard time getting back to our natural state.
I agree. We've been moving away from it. I think for centuries.
But the thing is, it can be remedied. It just takes a little bit of time and understanding of what it means to be a human being, not just a human being, a man, a woman of nature.
I think it has more to do. I think it has more to do with raising the general. How can I put it? I think it has more to do with raising the consciousness of the average person. If we can get enough people, let's say, to think like us, it's sort of like the sovereign citizen movement. It's not going to work if only one person, if only two people practice it. You need literally, let's say, millions and millions and millions of Americans understanding their rights, and then practicing their rights, and then the government can't do anything. But if everyone goes along, then it's like we sign ourselves back into this slavery.
Right. Or the people who basically sold themselves away and got themselves the hot shot to drop dead.
Oh yeah. Black pill and steroids. Can you talk about that for a second? I at this point it seems like you've probably done a little bit more research than I have. Do you honestly think that some large percentage of people are literally just gonna stroke out? They're just gonna get whatever pericarditis, myocarditis, and just die. And if so, when? In a year, in 2 years, or 3 years?
I'll tell you something now in the UK. Now, basically, Hammersmith Police in London, a lot of the vaccinated people who had the magic potion, I'll be careful now, who got the magic potion, got sick, had heart attacks and strokes, reported it to the police. They got a crime investigation number. The police did the investigations. It's going all the way across the Northwest now. It's going to Supreme Court in Europe. Now, we're having a Nuremberg Code in Europe regarding the magic potion, about the damages, because many people who've had that magic potion, vaccine victims, have come forward towards the courts. They've been given evidence, testifying evidence. There's been a lot of people dying. My auntie Anne died last year of having the magic potion. Died in the shower, dead.
Wait, who? Your dad? Your dad died?
My auntie. She died of the Pfizer
Oh.
second shot. Very healthy.
Oh.
And
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna go. Red pill on steroids. You've done a lot of research. You did all your part to warn people. Now it's your turn. Now just your time to just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
You know, sit back, watch. I mean, I'm gonna say this. Get you some popcorn, get you some microwave or stovetop or microwave or Jiffy Pop. Sit back, watch, and laugh at this point.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm laughing. Good. So you develop yourself a dark sense of humor and laugh. But I gotta go. I got some sleep to get, and some more car crashes to tomorrow to circumnavigate through. Probably most of them losing half their motor functions.
Yeah. Be careful when you're out there. You're still over the road trucking right now, right?
Yeah, but I've become more regionalized. You know.
Okay, so what does that mean? So you're home then every 5 days? They guarantee that your fleet manager?
Yeah.
Good.
Unless I want to stay out for a little bit longer, for a little bit extra time.
Right, unless you want to. Right. No, I know how it is. Okay.
All righty.
Well, that's good.
Good
all right,
night,
bro.
everybody.
It was a pleasure, man. We'll talk again.
What you doing Saturday?
Saturday I work. My only days off are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I only try to stream during those days.
Okay, I'm gonna see. Oh man, this is gonna be difficult. Oh shoot.
Well, I'm trying to. I think next Tuesday I'm going to try to get what's his name? Is it David? Is David Cummings? Do you know who he is?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's very well spoken. I'm going to try to interview him sometime relatively soon. So anyway, if you don't mind, if I can kick you off, I've some more some questions about feminism in the UK for Black Pill and Steroids.
All right, no problem. I'm going right now. Peace.
All right, man. Peace out. So Black Pill and Steroids. Can I talk to you for a couple minutes about feminism in the UK? And I think you might know a little bit more about the current situation in Britain.
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, feminism is. Do you know what? To be honest with you, in the UK now, the dating scene's completely dead. I just see in my own area.
I was hoping you can talk all about that. I was hoping I was going to mention. I don't know if you know. Do you know what coercive control is? Have you heard of coercive control laws?
No, I haven't actually. No, tell me.
Oh, okay. So, so coercive control laws, I believe, are laws that are springing up, or they started in Britain, and they're starting to pass them. Some of them have already passed. Are there laws now that stipulate if a man and a woman are living together and the man raises his voice, that is now considered a crime? That's now considered illegal?
They're trying to pass it. They're trying to pass that through, but it's not going to fly. There was a murder, I think it was 2 years ago, but there was a murder of a woman, and Parliament tried to say that men need to have a curfew because one woman was, by the media, because one woman was killed by a supposed man in a group or on her own. And they tried to say that men need to have a curfew, and all the male politicians in Parliament laughed, and it's like, do you know what? To be honest with you, I can't see it flying. I haven't heard of that going through my area. Not one bit at all, really.
Okay.
In fact, it's more lax. I mean, there's the media try and shit scare people all the time in the UK, but it's not gone through from what I've known.
Okay, good. That's good. I've also heard they're trying to pass laws.
I'll tell you one thing, right? The guys in the UK, right? The UK's awake to what's going on. Most of them, anyway, about these magic potion jabs, and they know that this feminism ploy is not working because people are getting more clued up now about gender identity politics. Even some of the women now. So yeah, it won't fly. It's not going to fly. I've not heard anything of that so far.
That's great. I hope that never comes to fruition.
Trust me,
Yeah, I've also heard.
If it ever came to fruition, you'd see a faster growth of Mgtow than ever before, and they know it. They know the government aren't stupid. The fact that if they cause if the government segregate men from women, the government are insolvent straight away. You know, corporations are insolvent because, you know, who gives women the spending power? Men do. You know, women are the net payers or the net buyers of consumerism 80%. So all the money don't care about women now on days. You know,
right,
yeah,
right. Men are net producers. Women are net consumers. Yeah, right. These hard and fast truths. Yeah.
It's just a case of
okay.
It's a case. I mean, what the media are doing over here, they're just trying to piss as many people off with the pandemic, feminism, Marxism, and this COVID thing. They're just trying to piss as many people off because people have had it up to here in the UK now, so they're ready to they're at a breaking point. But when we go to the hyperinflation, oh goddamn, Mad Max. Anyway, so go on, Mgtow Cowboy.
Oh yeah, okay. So another thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to give another example of coercive control, and I keep hearing that these laws that they want to pass, they keep starting in Britain, and then they tend to spread to other areas of the Anglosphere, like, you know, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, South Africa, and of course, you know, the United States, although we're slightly different politically. Like another example of coercive control that I hear that it keeps cropping up in Britain, whether they've passed it or they're still trying to pass it. So, like, let me give you an example. Let's say a man and a woman are living together. They don't even have to be married. Let's say the man gives the woman his credit card for a month or 2 months, and he says to her, you know, you could spend £100 this month, or you could spend $200 or whatever amount.
Let me say one thing about that.
Do that. She can do that, and then whatever, going into the third month or something, she can, if she wants, she can go to the police and say, hey, he gave me this much money per month. Now he's taking that away. That's a crime.
Well, they are working on that, but they've got to be very careful because if they've got two income earners, it can be different. But I've heard what you're saying. It's called financial abuse, where basically if a man doesn't give a woman enough money to look after children, that in respect of children, where he's not giving enough money to provide for the children. If he's married, I've got a girlfriend with kids, and, you know, paying for bills and that, but he's not getting enough to maintain herself and her children. Social services, they're gonna probably try and use that example to apply to men and women who are boyfriend and girlfriend who've been exclusive for 4 years, but what they call common law wife and common law husband. And what they'll probably try and do, well, they can't interfere with common law because that's different. You know, because there's one for you, Mgtow Cowboy, because they're not under a marital contract by the state, they can't initiate that. But in marriage, if you've got a marriage certificate in the UK, they can probably introduce legislation. Under common law, natural law, they can't touch you because you've not signed anything through contracts. But if you're in marriage, yeah, they'll probably end up doing that. I could probably tell you that now.
Okay. Yeah, no, again, I openly admit ignorance in this area. I hear things and I read things.
No, it's true because the thing is, like you say, it's contract. That's how they fuck us over. You know, marriage, as you say, contract. If you decide
that's how they screw us over. They're constantly saying, contract with me.
But if
same thing like when the police pull you over, you know?
And it's one for you, Mgtow Cowboy. They do a thing because as a common law wife and husband, you can make your own private contracts without the government. So then you say, if I'm going to leave you, I'll get a little solicitor involved. I get half of this, you get half of that, or we go our separate ways. You can write your own contracts out between both of you because it comes under natural law. But again, because people are so fucking dumb shit, they go under the corporation of like a church. Church is part of the state. State is part of the church is part of the bankers. You know, and it's all recycled. Sure. If you're living together, you're more free than a married couple.
But I completely agree. Yeah, no, from my research, yeah, these churches are basically agents of the state. I see it that way as well. Can you talk about Great Britain for a couple minutes, just about what we were talking about, just feminism in general? Like here in the States, I think it's fair to say dating is dead. I mean, hookups are still happening. We're very much living, excuse me, we're very much living in like a hookup culture. What's going on in Britain? I imagine it's accelerated over there, or no?
I just see in the UK now, we've got so many feminized men, so many beta male men now, so many Generation Z men now that basically have lost their own way. They don't know masculinity. We don't have masculinity in the UK. We do have strands of it to a point which has held it all together. But for the moment now, it's like, yeah, we've got hookup culture, but women now are more, they're very promiscuous. Now we've got so many single parent mothers over here where I'm in the UK. We've got the average woman at like 18 has got 3 children. You know, we've got a massive welfare state that's collapsing. You know, and I say before, I don't see any long-term relationships, any happy marriages. There's fewer marriages, more people in the UK living together. But with feminism now, I think that women have they're getting hungry because we're in a depression, you know, and things are changing economically. But I do see that men and women are not interacting as much with each other socially when it comes to dating. You know, it's very kind of standoffish. Even in the gym or at bars, women are more single with a girl nights out. It varies depending on what area of England there is, but men and women basically don't speak to each other as much as they do unless they're going to hook up and fuck. You know, there's in the United States, there's no interpersonal relationship between men and women anymore. That's been destroyed. It's just fucking pure bestial nature. No, so I mean pure animalistic nature, not bestial nature. Yeah.
Okay.
I meant to say. But I think
unfortunately, I'm seeing the same thing. Like when I go out to bars, I still go to excuse me, I seem to have something in my throat. Whenever I go to like bars, let's say, I'll see I'll see 4 men come in together and I'll see 4 women come in together, and there's very little commingling. What's his name? Hormaxer. He had just made a video a couple of days ago talking about how it's the same thing. He'll go to these clubs and he sees women dancing with themselves, but the level of commingling has gone down.
There's a lot more single women in the UK now, though, Mgtow Cowboy, because a lot of guys aren't approaching women and they're just doing their own thing now. And I think women are beginning to realise that, you know, they want to go for, as you said before, the alpha fucks and beta bucks want to go for the top 20% of men, but hypergamy is backfiring on them now because obviously the 20% of men don't want them. You know, and there's loads of single women, but you know, the women over here do not know how to have a conversation with men. They don't know how to be reciprocal. They're just materialistic. They're just I mean, hypergamy is universal. It's the same with the internet. When a woman's got a cell phone, that's it. She got loads of guys to DM her, and she spends all the time conversing on social media rather than getting to interact with men in a club or a bar without the mobile phone. So women are just women have got no self-awareness outside their village pond.
Sure. I mean, it's sad to report that, but I guess I agree with you. I'm seeing that as well. And I imagine in Britain, you know, by the time these women are 25 or something, you know, they've got 2 kids or 3 kids they have 4 kids by 3 different women, or I'm sorry, by, excuse me, hold on. They have multiple children by multiple different men. They're living in like whatever, some council estate, and they're just getting free welfare. And, you know, people are just not hooking up. No one's getting married. No, I mean, I don't know. It all taken all together, it seems like it's a recipe for disaster. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. The thing is, though, Mgtow Cowboy, the welfare state's going to drop in the UK by this year. You know, we're going to see a lot of child poverty when we have these food shortages.
Well,
soup kitchens.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but I would word it differently. I think they're going to keep giving the women welfare. It's just that with hyperinflation, the money won't buy anything anymore.
Yeah, they'll keep giving them a paycheck, but then, you know, it's like we're all going to go back to Zimbabwe. You know, I won't be. And you
right. Certain people talk about there's going to be this sudden collapse. I don't see it that way. I see it more as like a slippery, a slow slide. Yeah, you mentioned Zimbabwe in the 90s.
Mgtow Cowboy, do me a favor. I want you to look on US debt clock. Now I've got a debt clock on my computer of all the countries that are in debt. Now America's 30 trillion into debt. Now that clock is one of the clocks that's going to destroy the whole economy. Now if you look at it, America is minus in the red. All of Europe, I've got all the debt clocks coming down are in the red, and they're completely going to zero. And I mean, seriously, buddy, go when you get some time, Mgtow, and contact me on there. I'll give me an email afterwards, but contact me. But go onto the US debt clock and you'll see all the debt of America. It's because when America implodes, we're gonna feel it in the UK. Europe and European Union is gonna feel it. So all the women on welfare will not be getting paid. Soup kitchens will dry out because of supply chain shortages of food. So
Sure.
we've been stocking and preparing. So for many women in council houses, the time for us Mgtow men now is to basically bug out of the town. When we see the full hyperinflation start to hit off, all of us as Mgtow men have got to bug out. We've got to find our locations and leave, because many men and women and children, unfortunately, get killed in this depression. We're going to see things. What she's going to make the 1929 depression look like a picnic.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I talk to people like, every day, people all around, people at my work, people at the gym. I'm very careful about what I say. I actually think that some of the topics that you and I are discussing are so not politically correct that people get scared when I start talking about this.
And
like
that's
I literally tell people,
and that's the thing.
I literally. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So go on, Mgtow Cowboy. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to give an example. Like, I will talk to a woman, and I want to tell her, did you know? Have you ever heard of fractional reserve banking? Did you know how much debt the United States is in? We're getting. Don't you think we're getting to the point where we can't service any of this debt? And it just the look on their face. These women, they'll just have like just, I don't know, this glaze comes over their eyes, and they're just like, huh? Whatever. I got a kid, and my man, he done left me, and the government gives me money, and I get a subsidized housing, but they don't realize if we don't correct course, the money that the government gives you, it's not going to buy anything anymore. And I think we're just starting to get a taste of that.
Yeah. Mgtow,
I bought some.
You
go ahead.
Go on. You bought some what? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
What did you buy?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the example I wanted to give was, okay, so I'm sure you've heard of Walmart, right? We all know about Walmart. Walmart here in the States is typically one of the cheapest places to stock up on food. In fact, I'm going to go there today. Today's my day off. Last year, I would buy a 4-pound bag of tilapia. I'm sure you've heard of tilapia. It's like a small fish, good for eating. Yeah. 4-pound bag was like $12. Now a 4-pound bag is pushing $20. How did it go from $12 to $20 in 1 year?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what happened. You've got all those people that didn't want to work in America and the UK. All those people that didn't produce any income, goods or services while we were working. They were consuming while the government weren't collecting taxes. So obviously the government, have to pay for its spending, had to blame it on a virus which didn't exist. For 2 years, people didn't produce anything in the economy. And how did the government collect taxes from production? Because no one was producing, and because the government deliberately shut down and had this backlog everywhere. But every country, though, Mgtow Cowboy is insolvent. Every single one, apart from China and Russia, and India. So basically,
I'm worried about that as well. It looks like the BRICS, or what is it? Brazil, Russia, India, China. Yeah, it seems like we're gonna enter into a new economic system where the reserve currency of the United States is probably going to lose its status. I highlighted a quote here. I highlighted a comment here. I want you to comment on it. Do you see it on the screen? By Brian Fury. Don't stick your Johnson in a magic potion, vajayjay. Do you have anything to say about that? Black pill on steroids. Do you think it's actually? Should we be avoiding people?
Don't sleep. Yeah, because I'll tell you one thing. That I did an article that I'm a bit shoot. Now there was warning about guys not sleeping with women are being rejected because they've had the vax status, should I say? Because women who have the magic potion, a lot of them are having stillborns. They're not being able to have children, and they can be infected because the fact is when they're getting genetically modified within people who are purebloods can get infected because what they're passing on skin to skin contacts. Because remember, their cells, if they've had the real one, they're being genetically modified and it can transfer not from not having the jab, but getting sick off it. Because remember that the transmitters, because they've got these what can I call? They've got a messenger RNA in the factory. They're more like a biosynthetic factory where they've got all these payloads of parasites restructuring the blood. So when they connect to 5G, they magnetize, and then people around them get sick. You know, and again, if you do sleep with somebody unprotected who's had the air vax, then you could get infected. And that's what it's saying, because remember, we don't know the extent of how deadly this is, but we know it's deadly, and we don't even know if it's going to infect somebody who's not been protected, who's had sex with somebody who's been vaxxed. You know, but it does raise. This ties into the video, Mgtow Cowboy. When I show these videos next week on my bit shoot, it won't be pleasant, because babies that are born from those who've had the magic potion are not natural, and it showed you in the hospital all being recorded. It's sad to see. But
I thought I've seen some footage of the children. Their eyes seem to be completely black. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Okay, I take everything with a grain of salt, you know, until I hear confirmed report.
Oh, I've got a real one. A live one. Have you heard of mutant babies?
Mutant babies? No.
This baby was born with so many limbs on its body. And the thing about aborting it, this was from somebody who was fully magic potioned. This baby was completely deformed, but had loads of limbs all in its body and chest, legs. When you see the video, you'll know what I mean. But I'm not going to show you here. But I'm also going to show you the cells that are being restructured by the parasites, the hydroparasites in the magic potion. It builds PCB boards under the microscope, so the cells are the genetic RNA. It goes very deep. Sure. It goes very deep. But like you say, the people that have children now who've had the magic potion, these children will not be natural. They'll be called hybrids.
Wow, that's so scary. Yeah, you know, another example would be, and I hear that the media tries to censor this, but they just can't. Like all these footballers are just dropping dead, and the media won't report it, or they'll try to underreport it. But when you have 10,000 people in a stadium, what's that?
You know the reason why? Because everybody would have it. We'd have a Nuremberg trial overnight. The media have to do they have to sit like Susan Wojcicki. They have to shadow ban, suppress, gaslight anybody who speaks negative. But the Nuremberg trials are coming for all those doctors and nurses and politicians who got away with it. But the people like the Rothschilds and Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates will run off to the islands while they throw everybody else under the bus when this fails.
That's scary. That's scary to think that, you know, once things really get bad, the ultra rich, they will flee. No, I don't know, man. Economically, I think it's a slow slide. I think things are going to get worse and worse as the years go by.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I've got a secret, right? I've got the central bank's balance sheet. I've got it off the internet on an article. Now, basically, if you want to be protected, you have to have gold and silver, because it's under the constitution of real money. Again, natural law, gold and silver were transmittable, but also gold and silver stop governments from deficit spending. So gold and silver hedge of inflation proof. Now, what people need to know is that gold now has been reset by the banks as a tier 1 asset. Now, when I show you that debt clock and send it to you, Mgtow Cowboy, you'll see the real price of gold and silver, what it should be. The banks are suppressing the price, knocking it down, because
I agree. I agree 100%. So when it comes to what you're talking about now, you know, specie or the use of gold and silver coinage and bullion, yes, I'm completely on board with that. I listen to people like Peter Schiff. I'm sure you've heard of Peter Schiff. I listen to people like Gerald Celente. You know, these gentlemen say that silver should be, you know, silver here in the United States is maybe $20, $25, something like that. They say silver should be $50, $80 a troy ounce.
It should be higher than that.
They say gold should be $10,000 an ounce with the weight, with the level of money printing, and that, you know, they just suppress it. They artificially suppress the price, but eventually people for example, people like Peter Schiff say that eventually the banks will lose control and they will lose the ability to artificially suppress the price, and then we'll see this, you know, whatever. Again, $10,000 an ounce. Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you this then, Mgtow, quickly, and you go back on it, buddy. Now, basically, the debt clock I'm going to show you, gold should be 20,000 starting price. You'll see it on the real list. how much the price of gold should be over the paper ratio, the ETF. Silver should be 2,500, right? Now, you think of it this way, right? We've got probably over 300 trillion in the economy of fiat currencies, right? All the unfunded liabilities, mortgage debt, credit card debt, student loan debt, government spending, military industrial complex. You think of the trillions of dollars and pounds we printed, right? Now you think that, now I'll send the article over. Now the banks, the only way for them to save face when they're ready is that they're going to have to revalue precious metals. Now you think of it something like this, right? An ounce of gold, technically, with all the money that's been printed, will go from something like nearly $2,000 an ounce to $100,000 an ounce within the next probably 4 years. That's no word of a lie, because geopolitical events show that. Look at Russia. They're backing the ruble with gold. They bought gold because they're hedging against the dollar, like China, hedging against the dollar because the dollar's going to collapse. Now, again, when it comes to real estate and property, everything's based in fiat. Fiat is basically IOU fuck all. Now, when the fiat currency collapses, it won't be what you've got in paper notes, but ounces. Now, many people that don't have gold or silver, which will be a massive amount, won't be able to buy these properties. Banks won't be able to sell properties. So what will be on the dirt cheap? Gold and, well, what with real estate? Now, real estate will be bought by gold and silver. And if any private cryptos do survive. But the wealth transfer is basically the banks having one last ditch attempt to take as much wealth as they can. And if they do get the Great Reset, we'll have a two-tiered society where those of us who are awakened will split off from those who are in the mark of the beast system. Otherwise, it collapses and mankind takes the government back.
Yes, that's what I hope. That's absolutely what I hope happens. I hope the people sort of wake up and say, food is inflated. The price of food, the inflation rate for food is rising, 8%, 10% a month. What is going on? And I hope that this creates enough discontent that people, they take back control. Like here in the United States, I hope we start seeing a super majority where the Republicans take over. And I don't know, these crazy power fantasies. I don't know what to think.
I'll tell you one thing, guys. This is one thing about being black-pilled. I don't vote for any party. I'm agnostic towards any political affiliation. I believe self-governance. I mean, the black pill to me is the power of one. You are your own central banker. You are your own man, your own man army. You will create your own philosophy through you, for your belief systems. Politicians rely on emotive speech. They pull on the heartstrings, like Donald Trump. He was the one who's always going to be a savior. And he was the one who actually introduced warp speed of the vaccinations and helped shut down America. He was the one who put America into the hyperinflation, will help kickstart it when he locked him down. Because remember, all our politicians are compromised. They all belong to the World Economic Forum. They're all under the Rothschilds. And Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, Justin Trudeau, Xi Jinping, Putin, they're all controlled opposition. So to me, Mgtow, the black pill and the red pill, is about basically breaking free from the political system, living a simple life and doing the things you love outside the system, but having life skills. That's what it's all about. Mgtow really now have to be we have to talk more about past female nature now and helping men survive this coming collapse, helping those of us who've got close friends or family relatives to really prosper and survive. Because think of it this way, Mgtow, Cowboy, let me tell you something to your listeners as well. Yes, we're in a crossroad, but think about it this way. We've got an opportunity as sovereign men to permanently divorce the state by not taking the mark of the beast system, but also not accepting their currency. So how do we not accept the currency? We have assets. We have gold, silver, private cryptos, food, livestock, no debt. We've got assets to buy farmland, move into the countryside, grow our own food supply, and be self-sufficient from the state and the system without having to deal with the smart cities, with all these zombie apocalypse people turning on each other. Because when people go into these concentration camps of smart cities with the smartphone, I'm ditching mine in about a month's time, going back to a basic burner phone. When these people realize that people like us, Mgtows and red pills, living in the countryside happily, simpler, basic technology, but we're getting by, they're going to resent us and they're going to resent the government. So the fact is, we're in an opportunity now where there's a wealth transfer going on amongst the population of mankind. We are the enlightened, awakened ones, you know, and the same time is we have got this opportunity to basically gradually now take these shackles off permanently, but we've got to be constantly independent. We have to be a group of men and women who are like-minded like us, who will trade skills and barter with each other in the countryside to live happily. It means going back to basics, but we can't continue to be breastfed by technology.
I think those in power, you know, what you call, you know, the World Economic Forum, the Club of Rome, the Club of 300, the Tavistock Institute, all the, you know, the elites, you know, I don't think they're gonna give up their power voluntarily. I think eventually, and I don't claim to know when this is going to happen, but I think it will happen through economics, especially things like inflation. Once your dollar doesn't, your quid, my dollar, once our currency doesn't buy anything, people will be forced to ask themselves this question, you know, why am I having to work an entire day just to feed myself? But I just don't think we're there yet. I don't think people are really. I think people are too comfortable. Essentially, things have to get worse, much worse, before they get better.
I concur with you because people have been so dumbed down. They've had the thinking hollowed out. You know, they've been gone through 12 years of social indoctrination, of social Marxism. But again, with the same motto, you know, history never repeats, it always rhymes. You know, the Roman Empire, they got too greedy, super willpower that lasted 1,000 years. And now the soldiers who wanted to go on military conquests basically had got paid in gold coins. The state started to do fractional reserve banking by making the coins smaller, then diluting the gold coins with like copper. Then they gave them silver. Then they put like a bit of copper in the silver. Then they gave them copper coins. And then it completely collapsed because they overspent, they overreached. And again, these aristocrats fled to the countryside. So again, these aristocrats are playing the same handbook again, but again, because we've got fluoride, we've got entertainment, we've got celebrities. People are basically, a lot of them are NPCs, non-play characters. They're basically an automated behavior, pre-programmed belief systems by the media, by the state, the education system, and they can't rub a fucking coherent brain cell together. So these people, I'm afraid, will be the ones who get genocided, democided, and it'll be basically people like us that are going to be left to pick the pieces up.
I find it interesting that you use the word democide instead of genocide. So you think it will be mostly the government killing them off. I wanted to comment on what you just said. I remember reading the exact same thing, except with the Mongols, the Mongolian Empire. Part of the reason why the Mongolian Empire fell apart is because the Khans, the various Khans, not just Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, all these top leaders, they started running out of gold, and they exactly what you just said. They first they were paying their armies, or their infantry or their horse archers, their military. They would pay them in gold, and then they sort of ran out of gold, and then they started they started paying them in silver, and that was fine. The military would still operate on silver; it was still considered very valuable. And guess what? Then they ran out of silver. Then they started paying them in copper, but they would, and then they ran out of the copper. And then they tried to start paying them in iron, but soldiers once they started paying them in iron, soldiers just wouldn't fight anymore, and then they just couldn't keep a raised army. So yeah, I remember learning that. First they would pay them in gold, then in silver, and in copper. They would even fight for copper when you mix the copper coinage with silver. They would even keep fighting for that. But once you just run out of the this specie, this gold and silver coinage, everything just fell apart for them. They couldn't field an army, and then eventually and then the rest is history.
It's very different in our era, though, Mgtow Cowboy, and I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why it's different, because you think about all those people who've got the 401ks, everybody's got a state pension, everybody's got savings, everybody's got a current account. You know that fiat currencies all go to zero. Promissory notes backed by nothing apart from the power of the fictional corporate state. When this currency collapses, the government have got no pensions to pay people. They can't on it. Like 1971, President Nixon took the gold standard off the dollar. It's like now the government have basically defaulted on their promises because there's no state pension, there's no private pension, there's going to be no savings accounts or current accounts when the currencies go to zero. So the only way for the government now to avoid being slaughtered themselves with head and pikes is to act first by demociding the population with a magic potion, because they know the ramifications.
And just out of curiosity, if I may interrupt, what percentage? I mean, democide, 1%, 2%, 20%, 1 out of every 3 people is this going to be like the new bubonic plague? What percentage do you think of people will die, let's say, in 10 years?
Well, I read the book of Klaus Schwab, COVID-19, about the Great Reset, and it said, hopefully by 2050, we'll have 3 billion useless eaters eradicated from the planet. Now, you think about how...
I mean, see, here's the problem. Hold on. See, here's the problem. I hear you. I hear you. But, okay, just because, these crazy think tanks, the Davos crowd, just because they write some white papers and they disseminate this to the educated classes doesn't mean that they're going to get what they want. Look at Agenda 20. What was it? Agenda 2020. Now they're saying it's Agenda 2030. They couldn't get what they wanted as soon as they could. Of course, they're not going to stop until we stop them. But
yeah,
don't you agree? I mean, go ahead.
I agree with you, Mgtow Cowboy. I really do agree with you that we've got a conscious awakening, but still we are making ripples to a point now, and they know that people have cottoned on. Now, let me tell you one thing how the process is going to go. Those people who've had the second magic potion, when they start to get sick, right, and they see the children who had the magic potion get sick, these people are going to look to us and get really, really angry, because they've been lied to.
When you say look to us, you mean the non-pope people?
Yeah, because they'll know.
Oh, I agree with that.
So when
I agree with that. Go ahead, please.
So you think of it this way: they're destroying the health system, right? So they won't have any medical treatments to cure this magic potion. Now they'll look at us with anger. If some of them will look to us, some of them will become our allies and just basically work together to bring about the awakening. But those who have had the potion, who know they're going to pop it, when they see their children pass on, I'm afraid to say there's going to be many children passing on from this in 3 years' time. There's already been studies in the UK where children are now having heart attacks. Now, when these children start popping, when the public get really, really angry, because the government don't have control now, they're basically running on fumes. They've had to have this war in Ukraine and Russia to keep it distracted, because they need to print money to fund the public from not rioting because of food prices. The Federal Reserve are playing a dangerous game, because they've got to inflate the economy or die. Because remember, it doesn't matter what we've saved in the bank. If we don't have assets, we're going to be wiped out. Now, pensions are gone. I said before, current accounts are gone. People are going to be angry, so they've got to rush this Fed coin through. But then they've got Bitcoin, they've got Monero, they've got Pirate Chain, alternative currencies. Now, the government now have got no credibility of taxing, because people know that the government now give loads of foreign aid to Ukraine and other countries and misspend the taxpayers' allowance. So people are cluing up to it. But they've got that on top. They've got to keep people happy. But people, as you say before, are going to go to Zimbabwe, where they won't want to trade and barter with the government or banks anymore. They'll trade and barter with skills with each other. So the government are going to lose control of the monopoly in the system, which will have to be backed by a gold standard eventually down the line, if we get some semblance of democracy, or should I say freedom, should I say.
I think the central banks will fight tooth and nail to never go back to a gold standard.
Thing is, though, it's how Cowboy, there's too much information about them now. The Federal Reserve can't hide it, because they're exposed on the internet. They've got traction on YouTube with loads of financial channels, and it's getting out now that people are getting angry because they can buy less, they're working more hours for nothing. And I said before, the middle class and the working class have got a target on their face, because again, the government wants to destroy the middle class to create, societal dependency. But the thing is, too many people are waking up very quickly. People are waking up in the UK because a lot of people have been dropping from the magic potion, but also they've got to tame inflation. So they're playing two dangerous games, because they're all in now. The elephant's in the room. All these millennials are planning for the Illuminati to bring about this NWO New World Order, with all the 13 bloodline families having centralized power. I'm afraid to say that they are losing the narrative completely, but we don't know how it's going
to. I hope that's the case. Did you hear about a story? This was out of Indiana. I think the name of the company was called Hoosier Health. The largest, what was it? I can't remember. I'm sorry. It was one of the largest insurance companies in Indiana. Was reporting a huge spike in deaths in their state, and they couldn't hide it because when people die, when people pass on, a certain number of them will have what's it called, like a life insurance policy. And of course, if you have a life insurance policy and you or let's say your family is entitled to money because someone died, obviously you're going to file a claim. This guy was saying that deaths were way up. I can't remember what percentage. It was like it was a ginormous spike, and he likened it to a natural disaster, killing like tens of thousands of people or something like that. So I think places like theirs, I think the government's covering it up, but on the street. Go ahead.
Those who've died of the magic potion can't claim life insurance when the partner's died. They're being denied it because, again, because they're backtracking politicians because it's about having informed consent. And again, because Susan Wojcicki, the mainstream media, have not been giving people informed consent about the magic potion by having alternative medical doctors and opinions. People can't claim for life insurance if they've had the magic potion, so they lose out on all the money they paid into, and they go bust.
Yeah, no, it's very scary. It's very scary. I tell young men, get a little plot of land, like 1 square acre, 100 miles outside of the city, and put up a little shed. You could buy a shed at Home Depot for I think their biggest one. I've looked into it for like 16 grand. It's basically the size of a small house. And get off grid. Get off grid.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I'll tell you one thing: the signs that we've got to watch for as Mgtow men and Blackpool men, we've got to watch for when the hyperinflation comes, and those of us who've got the assets, is when everything crashes, real estate and property. Brother, I can tell you one thing: these mansions, these farmhouses, for $3 million. Remember one thing: that I owe you nothing. They've got no tangible value. So you think of every 6 million farm acres of land, $6 million it costs, minus 90% of the fiat currency collapse, it'll be on the pennies. So there's a wealth transfer where we will become the upper middle class. But it's about paying attention and being self-sufficient now, realizing that we've got to bug out. When the time comes, we have to bug out. We may have to leave technology. We may have to leave the internet. We may have to leave family members behind. Those who don't prepare with us, Mgtow Cowboy, will have to be left behind because it's about self-preservation as Mgtow men. The government are going to collapse. And all those people that do get sick of the magic potion, it's going to be a Mad Max for them, but for us, it's going to be a time where we can be free and prosperous. But again, it's got to come to that because we've got a splitting of consciousness because we've come on this planet, Mgtow Cowboy, to incarnate in these bodies, wearing these meat suits of avatars to learn the experience of what my name is, Blackpool and Steroids, and your name, Mgtow Cowboy, what's it like to learn these belief systems and then just pass on. We've come to learn and grow through limitation and shadow and pain. That was the whole point of why I went to Blackpool, really, because learning through limiting belief systems of shadow and pain and nihilism, pessimism, all the dark emotions to fuel and live with duality, knowing that there is positivity on the other side when you master all these pre-programmed belief systems that have been conditioned into
you. Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you are. I think people are waking up, but they're not waking up as fast as you think. I think most people are still asleep.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you the truth, Mgtow Cowboy. I do believe that there's going to be probably about what, if I say top men, probably about
cadre of men that are sort of waking up.
I'll probably say about what, there's probably 40% awake already. That's about it. I don't think we'll get any more than that until the children start dying.
I remember hearing, this is already old. I remember hearing, I think it was, what was it? The Gallup poll. Back in the 70s, less than 5% of Americans knew that the Federal Reserve Bank was a private entity. Today, it's more like 90%. 9 out of 10 people on the street know that the Fed is a private company, when just 40 or 50 years ago, it was a tiny, tiny minority. So I agree that some people are waking up to some things, but I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah. No, I do share your pessimism in that regard. I do. I meant by awakening. I meant by this. We are slowly, those of us. Now this goes in esoteric mode because we are in a matrix prison system, and we are soul beings where we need to think of it this way: if you're a souled human being, a soul with high consciousness, high perceptual awareness, right? You can look at things objectively, right, with intuition, guided by heart, emotion, all together. Now you can distinguish a lie between a truth and an untruth, because you'll investigate in your research. But I said before, we've got NPCs, and you've got to ask yourself this question: the people that we meet today in our political arenas or in our social groups, can you really say these people are human if they don't have the ability to think, don't have the ability to stop and pause, even though they've got this intellectual information process of the brain? It goes beyond that. Being a soul means you're intuitive to knowing, intuitive to your surroundings. But again, I concur with you that we've got so many people that are on autopilot that will be dead. It's necessary because these people are low vibrational energy, because they only live for today and not look at the future. Obviously there's no such thing as time. Time's an illusion, but people don't look ahead to think, if we could make this change together, we could have freedom and liberty. But people, because they've been so,
there's a gentleman I listen to now. You heard of Thomas Sheridan?
All right.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, materialism, there's some women I speak to on Facebook who are very awake and know about Mgtow, and really know what's going on. I mean, really know what's going on, but they're a very small handful. But a lot of men and women are basically, who've taken that magic potion, are going to leave. They're going to leave this planet, and we've got to rebuild it as men in our own image and just share our ideas and technology, but really explore philosophy, spirituality, and health and well-being with other men, and other women who may be awakened in the future. There are some women who really get it, but with a small handful. It means
there's a gentleman. There's a gentleman I listen to now and again. His name is Thomas Sheridan. He talks about how he sort of sees he thinks that he calls them intra-species predators. He thinks that 1 out of every 22, 1 out of every 23 humans is a excuse me. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, is a psychopath or a sociopath, and that these people they operate totally different than you and I. They're not led by their heart. They're totally narcissistic, and they'll destroy everything around them.
Yeah, because these people are demons and spiritual vampires. Because again, they feed off emotion, they feed off negative validation, negative attention. Again, people. I mean, this goes into the fact though. These people that run this whole matrix are not human. They're demonic. The Marxism, the feminism, this complete racial divide, the irrationality. These people are not human. These demons love division. They love to cause chaos and pain and suffering. It's not about the money to them. It's about just seeing people suffer. So when people suffer, they go into a low vibrational frequency, and they can feed off the negative emotions, like with a narcissist, like with many women today, feed off negative emotions of men when they're in pain or suffering.
Where do you how high do you take that? Like, do you believe, like, let's say the ideas or the theories put forth by like David Icke? Do you think that these are like reptilian humanoids? Do you think it's just a force like gravity? Do you think these are like, advanced computers, interdimensional beings? Again, I talk about Thomas Sheridan. He says it's like, again, he calls them interspecies predators. So it's like they're humans. They are genetically humans, but there's something so different about their psychology that you can almost look at them as like a separate subspecies.
Well, I've heard from my own research that they're from the line of Cain. Now, they could be hybrids, reptilian hybrids. They call them Anunnaki. They call them the Jinn, the Archons. But they're saying the politicians and celebrities are hybrids, because I looked at the blood covenant of the Illuminati. It's in about, obviously they would occupy celebrity, television, media, hospital, military. And these upper elites, basically in the political arena, celebrities have a thing called holograms who wear jinn, where the reptilian hybrids, they wear technology and the bodies and the head. So basically the illusion of being human. A conspiracy theory. But there's one thing I do know about this, and I can tell you with hand in heart with realism. I've done DMT, right? Now DMT.
Yes, so have I. I've done DMT as well.
Yeah.
I experienced something called the love lattice.
Yeah, I did. What
did you experience?
When I shot through all this pineal gland here was decalcified. I shot through all the barriers of the matrix. I saw everything in transcendence. I saw divine, higher spiritual beings than me. Very powerful, positive vibrational energy. We're limited by this meat suit we've gotten here, but we've been deliberately dumbed down to have these abilities turned off because the DMT decalcifies the pineal gland and helps you see a broader spectrum of things, and it teaches you a lot about time. You meet other entities. People think it's crazy, but I always urge people to do DMT because you have clarity of mind, you have healing. You see, those of us who've got a soul will make it through DMT. They can go through the experience of what it is to see past this dimension. I mean, why isn't DMT given to everybody? Because those who've got a soul will be able to awaken and see things more clearly and connect with the spiritual self and see other entities. Because think of it this way, Mgtow Cowboy, we're not the only people in this universe. We're far from it. There's other dimensions higher than this. We're in the lowest prison because we've got to suffer limitation, we've got to suffer negativity, depression, envy, strife, lust, hunger, death, torture.
Sure.
This is just a limited.
Sure, I remember. Now, you can, anyone can go to Wikipedia and research this DMT. DMT is produced, I think, in your body, in your brain. It's released every night when you sleep, when you dream. Yeah. But when you take DMT, it's an artificial form, but it still does the same thing. Just quickly, just because you bring it up, I'm going to end this interview in like 10 or 15 minutes, but to take it in a wildly different direction, just because it is very fascinating. I also agree that people should try DMT at least once. I experienced. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you one thing. You should do DMT in nature. Go into the woods in nature. Because everything's vibrational energy with DMT. I'll tell you one thing there quickly. Everything around you is vibrational energy. Now, I did the rawest form of DMT, the plant, right, and it was very refined.
Oh, ayahuasca.
Yeah. And
okay, I did like a chemical, an artificial version. It looked like fluffy white,
like a powder.
Crystals or so. Yeah. It was a friend. It was given to me by a friend of mine who I guess knew some aspiring chemists at university who had made it. But yeah, I experienced something called the love lattice, which is a very, very common experience where everything becomes like a checkerboard. Everything turned into red and black squares, and I started seeing all these geometrical shapes. And I felt like I was on like an elevated platform that was rotating. Like when you go to a car show and you'll see like the newest car, the car that's coming out this year, and it'll be on this slightly raised pedestal, and the pedestal is turning. That's kind of how I felt, and everything. You can look it up. It's called the love lattice. I hear some people, and it's some huge percentage. It's like 10% of people. 1 out of every 10 people who try it, if they try enough, if they do enough of it, they claim that they meet like certain extraterrestrial entities. What's his name? I think it was Terrence McKenna. He claimed that when he would do enough, he would make contact with, I think he would call them self-transforming gnomes, or these self-transforming, I think he called them gnomes, like almost like transformers, like these tiny little creatures that could think like transformers. They can turn into anything that they want.
Yeah.
They can speak anything into reality. Like instead of saying the word chair, they would say chair, and a chair would just come out of their mouth and just plant itself on the floor.
Yeah, because it's like you say, Mgtow Cowboy, it's infinity. You know, and just quickly, and I'll shut up. My experience was when I did the plant version, you know, you do open up to other entities. Now, this is one thing that guys need to hear. There are spiritual entities out there, very high and majestic. Depending on your emotional state, your heart chakra, where you are in life, you know, they'll give you gifts, you know, and one of them taught me my history of that I came from an Aztec line of Aztecs. I was seeing ancient history when I never thought I broke through, but when you break through, everything disappeared around me. I was seeing different dimensions, different entities and beings, very powerful, majestic snakes, animals, women, Aztec gods, you know, majestic universal creatures and beings. But it's from this third eye here that you can have contact with the astral plane and higher vibrations. But because the body's so heavily calcified and toxined with all toxins from the Wi-Fi, from the junk food to GMO foods, you can't make the full break. But when you do make the full break, the spirit, you let go of the ego, because it's like being like wallpaper, paint on the wall. The DMT I took scrapes you off there, and you're scared because you feel like you're going to slip from the body because you're leaving the ego. Now, what does the ego program you from birth to fear death? There's no such thing as death. It's just a basic transference of seeing everything around you and being in full clarity of mind and experiencing unlimited creativity, but a sense of feeling and unconditional love, and there's no fear. Now, I've never teared up in my life. But when I did the experience, I teared up because it was like a healing going through me. You know, when I had a little spiritual being over me, a little Aztec god, there's a light coming through my chakras, about to wake up, my crown, my third eye, my heart, and it was saying, "Be kind to yourself," because it was the trauma and pain, and it was like going through all the trauma and pain and breaking down and crying. I've never cried before, you know, and it's a case where if men really did the DMT, got into nature, and just relaxed and breathed in, had somebody there to help them to monitor the breathing. When you really let go, it's something so powerful than Mgtow, powerful than black pill. It's a complete finding of who you are, because when you truly go within and you can let go of this reality, it opens up expansive awareness, creativity, unlimitedness in such a great way. You know, and that's a taste of it for 6 minutes.
I'm reminded again of Terence McKenna. He likened it, I think he described it something like it's a complete collapse of your ego boundaries, and your level of consciousness expands to a point where you feel completely discombobulated and you're in a different world. And yeah, he talks all about it. It's a trip. It's a trip for sure. I'm not particularly into hard drugs, but
no, this is natural.
I don't know.
Because it's from a
right.
plant.
It's natural. Natural. Yeah. It's
because
right. That's the thing. I was just about to say that. You're making my point for me. It's I don't even consider it a hard drug. You have it in your brain right now. It's just that you know, your body releases it when you sleep. So that's what I was going to say. I don't even consider it really a hard drug. It's in your body. You can't test for it. It's in your body anyway.
Because to me, the DMT, if people were to take it long enough and often enough, they'd be able to unlock all the natural abilities. You know, people say, I mean, look at it this way. Why do you think that people are programmed with like television such as X-Men, you know, having telepathy or being able to levitate and do all these things if it weren't possible? Why would the elites just put it in front of our face? Because they know they've got all this esoteric knowledge they've sat on, but they've kept it hidden from mankind. Like our nature of reality, they've kept it all hidden. It's only initiated through secret societies at the most upper bloodline levels. You know, everybody else is just a puppet.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you that there is an attempt to create and to perpetuate this differential in knowledge. You know, for example, you bring up.
May talk about it quickly. Sorry, buddy.
No, it's okay.
Why did elites want to copy everything that we do through automation?
Well, you know, if you listen to people like David Icke, he says that, you know, they're they lack creativity. They're very good at copying, but they cannot create themselves. And I don't know. I don't claim to know.
No, you're right. You're bang on there, because you think of it this way: if you're natural, you are. We are. The human race is naturally intellectual. If women hadn't been messed around with feminism or social Marxism, hypergamy would have been regulated. If here's one for you, I'll go beyond this now. If men and women could reach their full spiritual potential naturally without being interfered with genetically or with the foods or with any political ideology, I do think we'd be on such a high vibrational energy that all the narcissists and the political elites would not be able to handle living on this planet, because we are raising in vibrational energy and frequency of conscious awareness gradually, but there's going to be so many people that go down with the system, because they've been programmed to think that this is all there is, the Walmarts, going to the Gucci bags, watching the dumbed down television. People are not getting ready for the paradigm shift, which is basically going to nature, finding out who you are. What are we? Who are we truly? As living sovereign human beings, who are we? And that's the continuation of question that we ask in the Black Pill. And people say, oh, it's about failing the genetic lottery. I mean, Black Pill to me is not associated with incel. I'm sorry, but it's just not. People have this misconception that Black Pill is about not getting women. That's the Red Pill, because when you realize that you're not sexually attractive, you just accept it and move on. If you can't accept it, then you go to incel. Black Pill's about what we're talking about now and going further down that line of working through all the shadow work, like a cleansing, really.
Sure. Yeah. No, I made a video, a rather long video. One of my longest videos, I think it was like almost half an hour, and I was talking about essentially what we're talking about now: paranoia, esoteric knowledge, natural law. These things. Yeah, it's very fascinating. Although I think a lot of people, when you start talking about, when you start using like the parlance that you're using or I'm using, essentially when we start talking like this, I think a lot of people think we're just crazy and like off our rocker. So unless I know someone really well, or unless I already know that they are open to these ideas, I tend not to talk about them because, like for example, like DMT, they're going to think you're crazy.
Yeah, and I say this to your audience as well, because being Black Pill means you have to open your mind to absolutely everything. You've really got to open your mind and get rid of, because I know with Red Pill, you can cling to nationality, political systems, or belief systems. It means to get rid of everything, just to go out there in the deep, go into the storm, riding the storm, jumping into the abyss and really going for it. It's not easy. Black Pill is it's all about self-mastery. I mean, I'm doing loads of studying about nihilism, because it's more the psychological and religious concepts. And as we're talking about now, Mgtow Cowboy, we're going into some Black Pill content. This is the heavy stuff that we're really questioning the nature of reality. We're not just skimming about awakening up from the Matrix. We're going further beyond that, because we're going past this physical realm into the next, how can I say, the multidimensional. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is what's great about all you men on the stream tonight, is that you've all got open minds, and like all men who are red pilled are natural philosophers, and they can take it to the next nth degree, because they've all got the potential to be smart. All those men who are basically red pilled and Mgtow, as I said before, goes back to being individualistic. You're sharing great ideas with me tonight, Mgtow Cowboy. Loads of things I haven't even thought about, to really think about, and you've done a great interview.
I want to share a closing story with you. This sort of ties it all together. Excuse me, one second.
Do you know what, Mgtow Cowboy, I had exactly the same cough you had before. I really did have that cough. I know it was a bit of a pain in the ass to get rid. I'm ready for.
Oh no, I think my problem was I had a bit too much to drink last night. I actually have a slight hangover. I think that's what I attribute that to.
Does beer cause you to build up in the mucus on your chest? Do you drink beer or do you drink whiskey?
Yeah. Well, think beer. Lots of beer. I'm a bad boy. Broke my diet again. What I was going to say is I wanted to tell you a quick story. I consider myself mostly straight edged, but was it 5 years ago now? I was arrested for the first time in my life for domestic violence. Sort of what brought me to the on every single inmate's hand, they would write a number, and it would either be an even number or an odd number. And I think it was even. All even numbers meant that you were in for some sort of misdemeanor, and all odd numbers meant you were in for, or you were arrested for, a felony. And I was talking to this young man. He was probably, I don't know, 18, 19. He was arrested, and I could see that according to his number, he was arrested for a felony. And I asked him what he was arrested for. And he told me he was arrested because he had shrooms. He had magic mushrooms or shrooms, or I think it's called psilocybin cubensis, and that's considered a felony. In fact, I think it's a Class X felony. And I just wanted to tie all of this together. You know, the feminism, the Mgtow, the DMT, psychedelics, the political system. I remember seeing the numbers and saying, "Wow, you're in big trouble. That's a felony number." He's like, "Yeah," and he was telling me all about it. And he was telling me, they're just magic mushrooms. He doesn't see them as being, very, very dangerous. But again, I think our government, they're very scared of psychedelics, and I think that they're very scared of psychedelics because psychedelics can raise. I'm sorry.
I think the government know what they can unlock within us, what's been turned off. The elites know what they've turned off inside of us. And that's why they
right, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think that there exists a differential in knowledge between the elites and us, and I think that things like psychedelics, if used properly, and again, I'm not promoting hardcore drug use, but I just find it amazing. Just because you brought up DMT, psychedelics, I think, can expand people's used improperly. I think you could actually lose your mind. Used properly, I think they can expand your consciousness, but I don't think that serves what the elites want. And I just find that interesting how, whatever, you eat a mushroom and it's considered a Class X felony. I just wanted to share that story. For all of our listeners, the government does not look kindly on psychedelics. It's all of them. What did you say? Ayahuasca, chemical DMT, these magic mushrooms, or psilocybin cubensis. I think that they raise your consciousnly, and I think that's why the government.
With the different streams of DMT, you will connect with other entities. It sounds very delusional, but I always say to guys, you do your research into it. But I guarantee you, if you do your first ritual properly, listen to some relaxing biometric music, right? Relaxing music, and you'll transport to the astral plane of the spiritual realm very quickly. Now people think I'm mad for saying about this, but I'm absolutely not. I encourage every one of your audience to, if you're interested, is to research into it. It can be £1,000 a tick. I used to do it with my nephew, where he used to make it, and he used to do the toad as well. And that was basically a complete.
Yeah, right. There's also some sort of frog or toad that apparently you can lick. I think it's the American Southwest is where the indigenous species of frog is. And yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's very
it's fascinating. Again, I don't, it's a fine line. I feel like I'm, fine line. I feel like I'm walking. I don't tell people that they should be using drugs, but when it comes to DMT, it's a very interesting topic.
I'll tell you one thing about the DMT, but if anybody did it proper, the plant version, the proper organic plant version from the body, I guarantee you that people will walk out that room differently. You'll see colors, you'll see different entities, and you'll realize that the fear of death and this COVID narrative means nothing, because this, to me, depending on what people's belief systems is, it's just a Matrix game. That's all it is. It's like a Grand Theft Auto. We're playing a video game to learn, and depending on what concept of religion or belief system one chooses to believe in, this is just a life experience, really. Because you think of it this way, guys, right? All of you, this is just basically soul harvesting. Those who've taken the magic potion will be in the mark of the beast system, harvesting of souls to be reused over and over again, like the battery of the Matrix. And those of us who don't take the magic potion will be able to ascend and go further on in life and journey past death, in that kind of concept, depending on what one's belief systems are around. But we are going into a case where we, the consciously awakened, are going to be elevated from working through all this trauma and pain and preparing, from prepping of food, gold and silver, having communities, having a brotherhood of Mgtow. We're on the right path to ascending past the limitations of the Matrix, because the confines of the Matrix, as you know, are failing. It's like the beast, the mark of the beast. The head of the dragon's been slayed. The government now have been caught up with hyperinflation. It's got to deal with the consequences of those who've been jabbed, who are dying now. So basically, it's writhing its own blood, flapping its wings, trying to start a new system like the World Economic Forum. And as you know, it's going to fail. It's going to fail miserably. Because as you say before, socialism, Marxism, communism, they've all failed. The Roman Empire, Egyptian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, all fell throughout history over and over and over again. No matter how they've tried to centralize power, there's always a small remnant that refuse it, even though it's amongst the mass majority of collectivists.
Sure. I guess I'll take this opportunity to leave it there. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I do have other matters I need to attend to.
No,
it was a pleasure. It was a total pleasure. I'm happy that you're back. So what's before I leave? So what's going on? Are you coming back to YouTube, or you only stay now at BitChute, or what's that all about?
I'm gonna do Mgtow videos on YouTube. I've got my channel nuked. I think about a year ago. Technically, I had about 50,000 subscribers, unique views, but I got suppressed to 7,000. And I think Hammerhand had the same thing when they suppressed his channel, and I got nuked on one video about not being a provider. And I think it hit too many points, and it just got rid of me. So yeah. So to cut a long story short, I'm on BitChute, Blackpool Steroids. I'm doing both. I'm going to do Mgtow videos for YouTube. I'm coming back to YouTube. I will be going in another angle about working through male depression now. Male depression, I'm prepping. I've got a lot of prepping videos I'm doing for YouTube, for the Mgtow, the Brotherhood. So it's just a case of doing that, really, being active, really. I'm doing the odd, moan about female nature, as we do. But yeah, as I said before, thank you for having me, Mgtow Cowboy.
Oh yeah, no, it was a pleasure. Honestly, it was my pleasure, and I'm glad to see you're doing well. You sound like you're in good spirits.
Yeah, I think it's like you say though, Mgtow Cowboy. These lockdowns gave us an opportunity to grow within, while people were killing themselves, drinking alcohol, getting fat, getting like a flipping a camel toe, arse, belly, stomach, and jogging pants. A lot of us Mgtow men were basically studying about economics, researching, exercising, thinking, how can I best make this time to grow within myself? It's good to see all of you Mgtow men. You've all came out the other side. You've come out the other side where you've made it through lockdowns. You're not traumatized like a scared sheep looking at the shepherd, following the shepherd, knowing that the government's going to basically genocide you or democide you and basically take your pension off you while you've got a head going through that headless flipping sheep walking through the farm.
Sure. I definitely agree with you that Mgtow men, or red pill minded men, or for that matter, through extension, black pill minded men, were already well prepared for this. It seemed like we're ready for, again, all the things you just said. The social isolation, not necessarily falling into alcoholism or drug use. But I think a lot of people, this caught them off guard, and yeah, a lot of people. There was a spike in. Wasn't there a spike in self deletions, if you will? Was there a spike in self deletions and drug abuse and domestic violence and alcoholism? And you mentioned it right now. I hear a lot of people that gained a lot of weight in the last 2 years and so on.
I mean, like you say though, Mgtow Cowboy, this is a race of endurance, and we're pissing it because we warned about it 4 years ago back, and it's like, for many of us, it was a soul test. And this is one thing about the Bible, Mgtow Cowboy, sorry to keep you on a bit longer, but the Bible does speak about a great tribulation. I do believe we're in the great tribulation of the verse of the Bible in Revelation. We have separated from the goats and the sheep and the people that are about the mundane monotony of the Matrix. We are on the narrow path as Mgtow. There's many men and women out there who are on our line of thinking, who see what we see. And I do really realize one thing, that this was a soul test. This was a soul test to grow past your limitations. And many of you We're streaming today, talking how great we are. We've not lost a loved one to having a poison jab. We've not lost our jobs fully, and even if we did, we'd all support each other. And that's the great thing about it. We've all grown and prospered because us men, we don't need to have validation from society. You know, again, as your subscriber said there about self-reliance, I think it's it's 1917, self-reliance, and that's all it is. Because the answers that we have as men is always within. You know, whenever we have depression, if we go for another lockdown or lose our jobs, rather than ring our mothers or our friends or family and have a good bitch moan or watch a soap, we should take the time to have a nice beer and write down how we're feeling for the day. Why do we feel depressed? And write out what we're feeling in the moment, and then write out the solutions the next day. How can I get a better job? How can I level my skills up? That's how we can work. And as men, what we need to do is stop being so closed off of our feelings. Don't give your feelings away to women, but write down a diary of how you feel each and every day that you have a problem or a solution you want to go to, a goal, an objective. Write it out every single day. Put it on the wall of your bedroom. Get emotional about it and think about it. Meditate on it, and it'll always manifest. I've found that way.
Very good. Very good. All right. I'm going to leave it there. Black Pill on Steroids. It was a pleasure. Thanks again.
All right, buddy. Give me a deleting out then. See you later, Mgtow. Cowboy, thank you for the stream.
Yep. Again, it was my pleasure. And everyone else, it was a pleasure. Thank you for joining. And I'll talk again soon. All right. Bye now.